So, good morning, everybody. Today we are here again for another class of Human Resource Management for Master in Business Administration second semester students. And the topic that we are going to discuss today is that of selection. All right. So, in the last lecture, we have finished with the recruitment, and the topic that we are going to do today is selection. As we have already studied in job analysis, that job analysis is the process of analyzing all the pertinent information about the job, followed by human resource planning, when we plan that how many what number of people do we need in the time to come, and match the demand of the human resource with the future supply of the human resource. Thereafter we do the recruitment, that is we invite the people to apply in our organization for different job, to create a pool of applicant, so that we may be able to choose the right people at the right time, at the right place, through the process of selection. So now it is the time to understand the process of selection. As we have already discussed, that recruitment is a positive process because it aims at inviting more and more people to apply for the organization. In the same fashion, selection is a negative process because it selects the best candidate out of those who have applied for in your organization and reject rest of them, right? So selection is the process of choosing the best candidate out of the pool of applicant that has created by recruitment. Now let's understand selection in a deeper sense, right? Selection is a kind of process where we choose the right person for different jobs in our organization. It is a negative process, as I said, because it involves rejection of unsuitable candidates, those candidates which are not suitable for our organization, right? In selection, the number of rejected candidate is far more as compared to the number of selected candidate, right? That is the reason it is called a rejection process. In selection, the number of rejected candidate will be far more as compared to the number of selected candidates, right? Selection involves various stages that should be selection involves different stages from which a candidate has to pass through in order to reject the unsuitable candidate, right? The selection criterias are predetermined, and those who do not fulfill those criterias at that particular stages, that they are rejected at that stage only, right? Selection criterias are predetermined, right? Now coming down to the next slide, Dale Yoder talks about the definition of selection. It is a process of choosing a candidate from among the most suitable persons for the current position or for the future position in the organization. Okay, selection is a kind of process where we choose the most suitable candidate for current position that exists in our organization today, or the position that will exist in our organization in the time to come, right? Next, according to Stoner, selection is a process by which we differentiate between applicants in order to identify who we will be hiring and who will be the best suitable applicants for us. So they are some of the basic definitions of selection which are given by Dale Yoder and Stoner, right? Now let's move further. Fine. So these definitions, you need to learn them, right? Now, recruitment versus selection, the differences between recruitment and selection. Let's see a few differences, how recruitment is different from selection, right? Recruitment is a positive process in which we search the prospective employees, but selection is a negative process because it involves rejection of unsuitable candidates and taking only the suitable candidates for the job, right? But recruitment and selection are two sides of the coin, and both are the part of recruitment, both are the part of process. Recruitment is the first phase where we tap the source of labor supply, and selection is the next or the second phase, which involves different type of test in which the candidate have to qualify, and only those candidates who qualify those tests will be put on for the next stages of selection, and only those candidates who successfully qualify in all the steps of the selection process will be hired for that particular job, right? Now let us come down to the differences. So the first basis of difference is meaning. Recruitment is the process of searching candidate for vacant jobs and making them apply for the different jobs in the organization. Recruitment aims at searching the candidates for various jobs in the organization and ask them to apply for different jobs in the organization. On the other hand, selection is a process in which we select the right type of candidate in our organization and reject the unsuitable candidate, right? Second basis, nature. On the basis of nature, how recruitment and selection are different. Recruitment is a positive process because it makes the people to apply for vacant job in the organization and create a pool of applicant from where we can choose the best suitable and create a pool of applicant so that the selection may be done. Rather, selection is a negative process because it involves rejection of unsuitable candidates out of the suitable candidates and choose the most suitable candidates for the jobs in the organization, right? Third point of difference, aim. The aim of recruitment is to attract more and more candidates for vacant jobs in the organization. This is the aim of recruitment, to apply to motivate large number of candidates to apply for different jobs in the organization. The aim of the selection is to pick up the most suitable candidates out of those candidates who have applied for different jobs in the organization, right? The aim of the selection is to choose the most suitable candidate for the organization. Now coming down to the next slide, fourth point of difference, it is based on the its basis is procedure, right? In recruitment, the firm notifies the vacancy through various sources, right? The firm notifies about the vacancy of the job through different sources and distributes application forms to candidates, right? Recruitment uses different sources, as we have seen, internal sources and external sources of recruitment, right? In selection, the candidates are asked to pass through a number of stages, and only those candidates who pass through these employment tests, medical examination, interviews, and rest of the things that are involved in selection, only those candidates who successfully qualify these stages will get selected on that particular position in the organization for which they have applied for, right? Now coming down to the next fifth point of difference, contract of service. In recruitment, no contractual relationship is created, right? There is no contract of service in recruitment because in recruitment you are merely inviting the people to apply for the job in the organization. You are not hiring those people in on different jobs in your organization. But in recruitment is only communication of vacancies only, but in selection it is followed by recruitment, and it lead to a contract of service between the employer and the employee, because the employee got selected on the job and he has to work on that particular job in the organization. Thus the contract of employment need to be made so that the employer and the employee both should be having a proper understanding of the terms and conditions of that particular job, right? That organization that for which that particular candidate is being hired. Now the sixth basis of difference, number. There is no restriction on the number of candidates in recruitment. Whosoever want to apply in for the job in the organization can apply, but he should be possessing the required qualification in order to apply for that particular job in the organization. So in case of recruitment, there is no question of number, that what number of people should employ. Any number of people can apply for the existing job in the organization. right? But in selection, only a certain number of candidates is selection. It depends upon the number of posts. Whatever the number of posts, only that number of candidates will be selected. Like 500 candidates have applied, but there are only 5 jobs. Then only 5 candidates, 5 best possible candidates will be selected out of those 500 candidates, right? Now coming down to the next topic, and this topic talks about the selection process, which is very important, right? The differences that we did right now among the recruitment and selection are very important from your examination point of view. Hopefully you will be getting a short answer question in this on this topic particularly. So what are the differences between recruitment and selection, right? So if there is any question, then please ask, otherwise we may move further to this selection process. Any questions in context to the differences in between recruitment and selection? Hello?
No, sir, all okay.
Right, fine. So as you people are well aware about the fact that I upload the video on a daily basis on my YouTube channel also. So don't forget to subscribe that and hit the bell icon, right? So that you may be getting all the notifications, because I upload the video on a daily basis, right? So all of you, please subscribe, because there are only a few subscriber on the YouTube channel. Just I believe 22 or 23 people are there, 27 people are there who have subscribed to the channel. Kindly subscribe the channel, please, right? So that it may be visible apparently that students are really watching the video and subscribing to the video, subscribing to my YouTube channel, right? So now the next is topic is the selection process. So let's get into it, right? Selection process consists of different steps and stages. Among them, the first is application blank, right? Now what is application blank? Application blank is actually the application form. It should be a simple, and it should be a simple form which should be easy to understand, and it should include the questions that consisting of that are desiring inform that are asking the candidate about the different information in which the organization is interested, right? A specimen of application blank for the post of statistical officer is given in the next slide, right? You people might have filled in different application forms or application blanks, so you might be having an idea of the same, but there is a specimen of the application blank that you can look at and will be able to understand it better, right? Right? Application blank for statistical officer, right? It is the application form for the post of statistical officer. What information does it contain? Let us see it in a chronological order, right? Name, Mr., Mrs., Miss, whatever. Okay, you have to write your name. Then second, father's name, husband name, right? Residential address, date of birth. 5, educational qualification. It may consist of table, serial number, course name, board, subject, percentage, division, right? Further, attach photocopies of your certificates, right? Your mark sheets, your certificates of different sports activities, different academic and literary activities, whatsoever you have participated in, or whatsoever awards and achievements you are having that you have mentioned, right? So you need to attach all those certificates, right? Examination boards, years. This is the detail of the education, educational qualification details, right? So it consists of the table, right? Your high school, your intermediate, as I have told you right now, right? You need to specify your educational qualification here in such kind of tables. Now, sixth, employment exchange registration number. end date. If you have registered in the employment exchange, then the employment exchange registration number and date, if any. So this information is usually not needed, but it is mentioned because some organization do need it. If you have a registration, you need to mention it, and if you don't have a registration, you need not to do that, right? Seventh, the whether the candidate belongs to SC, ST, OBC category or physically challenged category, right? So usually in the case of government jobs, this information is asked about your caste, right? Because there are certain regulations about the reservations for candidates belonging to SC, ST, OBC and physically challenged category, right? Next, whether the candidate belongs to physically challenged, right? So this is another category, as I have told you right now. Ex serviceman category, ex army personnel. Are you an ex army personnel? Certain reservation for that also, right? Ninth, experience of statistical work, if any. This is a job for statistical officer, so they have asked for the experience, if you have any, in case of statistical, in field of statistics as statistical officer, if you have worked anywhere in some other organization also as a statistical officer, right? Attach a separate sheet of paper if you find space on the application blank to be insufficient, right? So you may attach a separate sheet of paper. Now second second point is employment test, right? This is about the application blank, and I believe you might have got an idea of the application blank, that what kind of application blank is there, right? I believe I'm able to create idea in your mind about the application blank, that what actually is the application blank. Is it clear? Can we move on to the next point? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. So you people might have filled in various many of the forms, so I don't think that there may be any confusion particularly in this regard. So let's move on to the next point, and the next point is that of selection test, employment test, right? Employment tests are major. Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Right. Employment test is the most popular means which is used for selecting employees on various jobs, right? Employment tests are very popular in different organizations. Different organizations are using different kind of employment test in order to select right employee for their organization, right? These tests help in matching the characteristics of individuals with the vacant jobs, so that you may be able to choose the right type of person, right? These tests helps in creating a perfect match in between the job and the employee and the candidate, I mean to say job and the candidate, so that you may be able to select the best candidate for that particular job, right? There are certain types of tests which an organization can use depending upon its job, right? There are n number of tests which are available as employment tests. You are not required to choose all of them, or you are not required to make candidate to qualify all of those tests. You need to you need to you can only use you can use those tests only which are suitable from your job point of view, right? There are certain tests which are suitable from one job point of view. There are certain other tests which are suitable from some other point of view, but it depends upon the requirement of the job, that what kind of employment test you will be having. So we will be discussing the different kinds of test also here itself, so that you may be able to understand that what kind of possible employment tests are there, right, which you may be exposed to, right? The first kind of test is intelligence test, right? B is aptitude test, intelligence test, aptitude test. C is your occupational or professional test. D is your interest test. E is your personality test, right? Now, employment tests are through employment tests you are able to test the qualities and weaknesses of the candidates which cannot be which should be understood before offering them jobs, right? You should be able to understand them before giving jobs to them. Otherwise, after giving the jobs to them, if you will be able to recognize their weakness, it will become more difficult for you to expel those kind of candidates particularly, right? These tests should be designed properly so that there may not be any shortcoming in these tests, and these tests may be implemented fully and easily. If these tests are biased, tests will not be able to serve its purpose and will not be a good indicator of the knowledge and skills of the employees, right? Selection based on these tests which are biased are faulty, and thus those kind of tests cannot be relied upon for selection. So tests should totally be unbiased. Tests should not be biased. Tests should be free from any kind of bias. That is the reason test is being introduced, so that element of bias which is very much there in the interview can be reduced. Now, there are a large number of tests which are used in industry for selecting different people on different jobs, right? There are large number of tests as we have discussed, right? The first kind of test that we have discussed is the intelligence test. Now, what is an intelligence test? Intelligence tests are used in order to understand the mental capacity of the applicant, in order to judge the mental capacity of the candidate, right? It measures the individual learning abilities, like ability to catch and understand instructions, and also ability to make decisions and judgments, right? There are many verbal and non-verbal intelligence tests that can be used, which are created by different psychologists and which can be used for selection process on different jobs, right? Intelligence tests are used at a mass level, and it is used in all kind of jobs, including the skilled jobs and unskilled jobs, because it is the test of your intelligentsia, and for every job you need to have intelligentsia, right? Because unless and until you have intelligence about that particular job, you won't be able to do that particular job. So intelligence test is a test which is there in all the jobs, right? Now, B is your aptitude test. Aptitude means the potential that you have for learning the skills required to do a job efficiently. Whether you are having aptitude to learn those skills that you need to have in order to do a particular job or not, right? If you don't have aptitude to learn those skills which are required for that particular job, then you won't be able to do that job. I'm having an aptitude for an academician, but if I got an opportunity to become a doctor, I won't be able to do that because I'm not having the aptitude. I'm intelligent, I'm hardworking, I can learn skills, but I don't have aptitude towards a medical doctor. So I can be a professor, I can be doctor of academics, I can be doctor of philosophy in a field of management, but I cannot be doctor of medicine because I'm not having aptitude for that particular area. Now, aptitude test measures the capacity of a candidate or an individual for who are carrying an high potential, so that they may be identified and they may be developed in like an asset of the organization. Aptitude tests are promising in nature and they are predictors of candidate success, because through aptitude tests we are able to understand the aptitude of the candidate, and we may be able to nurture them, we may be able to train them, we may be able to develop them to the fullest of their potential. There are four different types of aptitude test, right? Cognitive test, which measures mental and There are four different types of aptitude tests. The first is cognitive test, which measures your mental and intellectual aptitude, and next is your motor test, which measures your physical dimensions such as dexterity, hand dash, and eye coordination. Right? Psychomotor test is usually done in case of jobs like typist. ठीक? In the case of typist, what you are doing, you are seeing through your eyes the content and you are typing through your hands. So you need to have a proper coordination in your eyes and hands. Psychomotor test is also in case of pilots, because you have to see your eyes and you have to act through your limbs on different gears, meters, and rest of the things. Okay, so you need to have proper coordination in between your eyes and hands. So moving forward further, C, proficiency tests. Proficiency tests are those which are designed to measure the skills that our candidate has already acquired. Right? Proficiency tests judge the level of skills that the candidate is having. These all are types of aptitude tests. The third type of aptitude test is proficiency test, which examines the skills that the candidate have already acquired. Right? Proficiency tests are also known as performance, occupational, or trade test. Right? These tests are used to test the level of knowledge and proficiency which is acquired by the applicant through different training programs and on the basis of its experience. Our trade test takes are samples of individual behavior which is designed as replica of actual work situation. Right? A trade test takes you to a kind of situation which is very closer to the actual work situation, and there you are supposed to undergo that particular test. Right? There is also a method of training of the job training methods where we use such kind of simulations where you need to work in a kind of situation which is very closer to the actual working situation. Right? Trade test should be differentiated from an aptitude test. Right? Because an aptitude test measures the potential of the applicant to learn skills which are required to do a job on the job. Right? Now, the fourth kind of aptitude test is your interest test. Interest test identify pattern of interest, that is areas in which the individual shows special concerns, fascination, and involvement. Right? Identify those areas in which individual is having the larger amount of interest. Interest test, as the name suggests, is a test which aims at understanding your interest in which area, in which particular field, or in which particular part of job you have the most, you are interested the most. Right? Because you can work well only in that area where you are most interested, where your interest lies. If you are supposed to work, or if you are put on work in an area where you do not have any interest, so you will not be able to contribute much of your effort. So you interest of the candidate, interest of the incumbent, interest of the applicant should be understood so that you may be able to have best use of his potential and capacities. Right? Now, these tests suggest what types of jobs may be satisfying to the employees, so that you may not be able to have a mismatch. Right? Because through these tests you will be able to identify what are those jobs, or are these candidates suitable for the jobs for which they have applied for. Right? Because you need to have a perfect match in between the candidate and the job, and if you will be able to get the perfect match, then only the candidate will be perform well on their job. Otherwise, the slowly and gradually the job will become a boredom for the candidate and their productivity will go down. So you need to create a perfect match in between the interests of the candidate and the job, right? So if the candidate is a perfect match, only then you need to hire that particular person, otherwise you need not. Interest tests are very popular in vocational guidance also, right? They help the individuals in selecting occupations of their interest. Through interest test, you may be able to identify all by yourself that what are those areas in which I am interested personally, and you can aspire jobs, or you can pursue different courses in that areas only, and you can aspire job in that area only. Because job is not only a thing, job is not only a, you know, uh, an opportunity where you can earn money for your livelihood. Rather, it is something in which you need to have interest also, otherwise you won't be able to continue for a longer period of time with your job, right? Now next is your personality test. Fifth kind of aptitude test is personality test, right? Now what is personality test? Let us see. Personality test is a test that identify the qualities of that assess the personality of an individual as a whole. The combination of aptitude, interest, and temperament is checked in the personality test. It is very difficult to devise and use personality tests because it is concerned with discovering individual value systems, his emotional reactions, maturity, etc. Personality test is the most difficult test to construct and conduct because it talks about different psychological factors. It aims at identify different psychological factors within an individuals, and identifying the psyche of an individual is the most difficult task. So personality test is the test which is very difficult to conduct, which is very difficult to construct, and difficult to conduct also. Difficult to construct, rather difficult to construct, right? Once it is constructed, it may get conducted again and again as per the requirements. Now after aptitude test, the after the selection test, next step is employment interview, where those candidates who have cleared with the employment test, they are required to appear in the final interview so that they may be so that the suitable candidates may be selected out of those who have qualified in the written test. So those candidates who have qualified the written test will be subjected to employment interview. Now, the interview is taken by a board which consists of HR manager and the representatives of other departments of that organization. Interview is scheduled to determine the suitability of the candidate and to provide them a complete picture of the responsibilities which are there with the job. The in interview, the candidate is asked about various questions in connection with the job, and moreover, as the time permits, the candidate is also provided with a brief introduction of the job with the start of the interview also. And the candidate is required to answer different questions in context to the job, and the candidate is also, also the candidate is also asked to answer some of the hypothetical questions in connection to the job itself. Now, employment interview is very important for both the applicant and the employer, right? Because there should be proper physical arrangement for the interviews, because it enhances the reputation of the employer and give confidence to the candidate. So the interviews arrangement should be made properly because it gives the initial impression of the company's working atmosphere to the candidate. So the preparation for the interview, particularly the physical setting and all, should be done with great care, right? Privacy and comfort should not be forgotten in case of interview, right? Because privacy and comfort are very important both for the interviewer and for the candidate, so that the candidate may be able to perform fully and the interviewers may be able to ask all the questions to the candidate in an easy and comfortable manner, right? If this is not done, it will be wastage of money on interviewing the right type of candidate may not be selected, right? So this is very important. If this is not done, you won't be able to select the right kind of people for the job. Now the interviewer should come fully prepared for the interview and should give proper attention to all the candidate. Interviewer should prepare themselves beforehand. They should think about the questions that they should be asking from the candidate, and it should not be like this, that interview board is focusing on a few candidates and they are ignoring rest of them. You should be giving equal focus to all the candidates, so that you may be able to assess all the candidate. Do not judge the candidate on the basis of their single characteristic. You should be judging the candidate overall, so you should be paying equal attention to all the candidates, and you should be giving equal focus to all the candidates, so that you may be able to select the best candidate for the job. Moving further, fourth step, reference checking, right? Most of the employer ask for name, address and phone numbers and emails for the reference, so that information provided by you can be verified and can gain additional information about the applicant. So wherever you apply, they will be asking for certain reference, and these reference should be such which should not be your blood relatives. You need to specify their name, address, phone numbers and emails. Normally reference checking is done through telephone calls only, right? Previous employers, known persons, teachers and university professors can act as references in this regard, right? Because you as a student will be having good relations with your university professors, with your school teachers, with your previous employers, so you can quote them in case of your reference, right? Prior to final selection, before final selection, it is necessary that prospective employer should investigate the references which are being provided by the candidate before selecting him for finally on the job, right? So that you may be able to verify his personal reputation, financial condition, police records, his performance, his nature, his behavior, etc., right? It is very difficult to persuade reference to give his opinion frankly, right? So you need to you need to put in certain questions in front of the person whose reference is given in the application, so that you may be able to get the right information, right? Now fifth point, medical examination. Now medical examination is given to those candidates who have passed in all the states, and it is undertaken in order to understand their physical capacity, so that the employer may not employ a kind of person who is physically disabled and will not be able to perform the job for which he is being hired, right?